This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. We're really excited for this presentation. We've been saying for a while we're really excited to work with your class. So um, we're excited for this event tonight, and we hope that you all walk away understanding you're not behind in this process, and that this doesn't have to be quite as stressful as it might seem on the outside. So just to introduce who we are as a college advising team, so Miss Marchesini and I both work in the guidance suite. We work pretty closely with your counselors, especially when it comes to things like class scheduling and that kind of stuff. So a lot of times they'll consult us if you have questions about adding, dropping classes, things like that. Miss Marchesini is one of our college counselors. She works with the first half of the alphabet. If your last name's A through L, you'll be working with Miss M. If your last name's M through Z, you'll be working with me. So a little bit of background about us. Miss M is currently in her third year here at BL. She worked in admissions at her alma mater, Kansas State University. And then I'm in my fifth year at BL, and I graduated from Western Michigan University, and I've worked in the admissions offices at my alma mater, but also at SMU, the University of Wisconsin, and at the University of Louisville. So we've been in this industry for a while, and we've got some good connections, and we're happy to share those with you all. So, a little idea of who we are and what we do. We are certainly here to be a resource for you all. We are not going to be your personal assistant. We each have about 125 students that we work with. So, what we're here to help you with is building your lists, providing feedback on schools that might be on your list. We'll take a look at your essays. We write a lot of letters of recommendation. If you have questions regarding the application, we'll certainly help you with those. But Miss M has done a really good job over the last few years of creating some cheat sheets when it comes to things like the Common App, and then um, the SRAR, which is the self-reported academic record. Additionally, we plan different programming throughout the year, whether it be college knowledge nights, whether it be different college fairs, career nights. We bring different college reps to campus for visits. So we had close to 200 visits this fall. So many of you have probably talked to them during lunch or before school. And then we also provide you with general tips, information, emails, stuff like that. So it's really important that you all do get in the habit of checking your email. I can't stress this enough. We have seen students miss application. Maybe they're missing a document or something. Maybe they got off the wait list and they never noticed it because they didn't look at their email. So it's really important to get in that habit. If we send out information, we'll also post it to our portals as well. So in the email for this, you should have been able to see the links to the different portals. So we'll be utilizing those a lot more as well. So really, the overall focus of tonight's presentation is to give you an idea of where you need to be at right now. First and foremost, researching your colleges, figuring out what's important to you, starting to think about what you want on your list is really going to be the biggest thing that you need to be doing right now. Taking the ACT or SAT, whether it be I think it's this weekend is one of the tests. So whether it be this month, whether it be in the spring, making sure you get those tests taken. We do typically recommend you have at least a semester of Algebra 2 under your belt. Continue to do well in the classroom. This year is really, really important. And really, this is the last set of final grades colleges will see when you apply. Please know your senior year classes do matter still, but these are the last set of grades a lot of schools will see if you're applying early action. Additionally, this is when top 5 and top 10% rankings are kind of set for auto admission to UT and A&M. So it's finalized at the end of your junior year. So junior year is really important. And ultimately, we want to make sure that you guys are starting to visit colleges if you haven't done so already. So our college admissions platform that we use, our software, I guess, is Maya Learning. You all should have access, students and parents. Parents, if the way for you all to sign in is simply use the email that you use for Veracross or anything BL related. Um, use that and then click forgot password, and you should be able to reset your password. So if you don't have access, send me an email and I can look into it and make sure you get all situated. Students, you're going to choose to sign in with Microsoft and use your BL email and password. We found that Google Chrome tends to work the best when it comes to Maya Learning. So you may get something saying pop-ups are blocked, so make sure you unblock the pop-ups. But it's a really great tool. Um, Ultimately, the biggest tab you're going to use in Maya Learning is the Universities tab. So there's two essentially lists. So there's your considering list and applying to list. Right now, you're going to want to use the considering list. The considering list you can add schools, your parents can add schools, we can add schools to it. And then once you start applying to schools in the summer, you can move them from considering to applying. So it's a really great tool to kind of do research and learn about what materials might be required at those schools, see if they have any essays required. There's a really great kind of scatograms tab where you can kind of see what each school um, requires and doesn't require.
Okay, hey everybody. So sorry I had mic issues earlier, or else I would have jumped in to introduce myself. But to all the parents and students on the call, my name is Miss Marchesini. But when we are asking you guys to get started on the college research process and starting to build your list, we really want you to think about what are you looking for in a college, not your friends, not your siblings, not your family friends or anything like that. What are you looking for? And we always want you to start just with these baseline important factors. Okay. We want you to think about the location. Do you want to stay in state? Do you want to go out of state? What distance from home are you comfortable with? Do you like a college town or would you prefer to be in a larger city? What climate do you like? That's one that sometimes students don't think about as much. Do you really prefer to be near the mountains? Are you a really big skier or hiker? Or would you like something that's going to be within driving distance to a beach? Stuff like that. The size is also going to be really important. And sometimes you really have to go and visit schools to really get a feel for size. Because maybe you've always wanted to go to a larger school, but then if you go visit one that's super, super large, you think, I don't know, it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. This one's a little bit too big, this one's a little bit too small. You're looking for one that's just right. Type of school, a public school versus a private school. Maybe you're really thinking about a liberal arts school, or there are some tech schools out there that are going to be more STEM focused. As well as the programs offered. And this isn't just academic, but maybe it's the learning accommodations that they offer, the fine arts programs, the extracurricular activities, the athletic opportunities that they would have. And then also cost. And this is when we really invite parents and students to have that conversation together and really have that honest conversation about what are we comfortable with, who's going to be funding education, what are we comfortable paying, what are we comfortable doing as far as the cost and financial aid goes. So we also want you to begin visiting colleges and contacting admissions reps. And so if you're wondering, how do I schedule a college visit? Where do I begin? Luckily, here in DFW, there are so many awesome universities that can give you a good variety of a large public school up in Denton. If you want to go visit UNT, you can visit a medium-sized private school either within SMU or TCU. You can visit a smaller liberal arts college. That's going to be Austin College. Tarleton, Stephen F. Austin are not super far. UT Arlington is going to give you a different vibe compared to UNT, for example. And with all of these schools, if you don't know where to begin, we do always recommend just stay, within town and go visit some of these and get a feel for size, for the campus culture, etc. Pretend that they're not in DFW. If you want to go out of DFW, you're like, why would I go visit these schools? Go visit them, pretend they're somewhere else. What are the things you like? What do you not like? When it comes to contacting admissions reps as well, we always get questions about this. Check college websites for the admissions reps information. You can Google insert school name admissions reps. I know that sounds really like base level information, but it will bring you directly to that page. I guarantee it. I, over the summer, created a document that has college rep information that is going to actually be uploaded to our Veracross portal, hopefully. But admissions reps can help you with admissions, scholarships, answer all of your questions. If you're ever curious, what housing should I look into, or, what's the best place to do this in town or whatever. Mr. Ringett and I, we worked in this role. We know what they do. They are the experts on their schools. So if there's any pertinent information that you need to know, I always want you to go directly, get it directly from the horse's mouth, hear it from the schools, because even from one year to another, things might change. And you guys are also great at updating us on maybe what some updates are. So we really encourage you to talk with college reps and start building those relationships. And then selecting a major, and this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And we just want you to get started. Some of you might have known exactly what you have wanted to do ever since you were younger. A lot of you are probably starting to think, okay, what are some careers that are interesting to me? Kind of getting that conversation started. But if you have no idea where to start, just know we want you to kind of think about the career first. Multiple majors really can get you to your end goal. So if you have an idea of maybe what career you want, what type of career you want, but you don't know what major would get you there, we can really help, with figuring out what that pathway is going to be. Check your U-Science results from last year. This is just a subtle plug for that because I run U-Science in our office. But U-Science, you all would have taken it last year during your math classes. U-Science is really helpful at just giving you a direction. I always say U-Science can be a compass. It doesn't have to be a map, but it can point you maybe in the direction of an industry or a type of career that might be a fit for you. And then this is also our plug for BL Career Night. This is going to be on Wednesday, April 9th. So we'll be super annoying about it in the spring and email you a ton about it, but mark your calendars. Our career night is great. This is a plug for it. We do a panel style career night if you haven't been before in the past, but I know a lot of you have been. But we do a panel style. It is BL adjacent people, so parents, alumni, friends of BL who come in. They are a variety of ages, so they're at a variety of different points in their careers. And we have different rooms that are separated by industry. So there's going to be, a business room, a healthcare room, a news and media room, engineering, architecture, et cetera, et cetera. And you can go into those rooms and it's panel style. So you can ask them about maybe what their educational journey was or what a day in their life in that career is like, any, tips that they have for you. So I really love our career night. It's a great place to just learn about different careers that you might not have known about in the past. We want you really just to start thinking about majors because the major that you choose may impact how we want to go about your college admissions journey in the fall of your senior year. Because sometimes certain majors at certain schools are going to be more competitive than that major at another school. So sometimes you have to play the major game and figure out, what might be, if you really want to go to a certain school, what major might be the best vehicle to get you into that school. Some majors also tend to be more difficult to transfer into. Programs like nursing, engineering programs, architecture is one that's like this as well. But that's where the major that you are hoping to apply to can also affect how you want to approach your course selections this spring. So you can always change your mind. I know it's a lot of pressure on you guys to ask you, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Believe me, I was the poster child for somebody who should have gone in undecided in college. I had no idea what we just want you to just start thinking about it and having an idea. You can always pivot in another direction, but if you don't make any decisions and you kind of just sit there and tread water, eventually it's going to feel like you're drowning. So we want you to feel like you have a direction that you're going in. You can always move in another one. So common to change your major in college. I know I changed mine 3 times in college, and this is a good transition since Mr. Ringett will take over. Did you change your major in college, Mr. Ringett?
I did. Mine wasn't quite as drastic as going from pre-med to business. I went from business to communications, but yeah, I had a lot of friends that went from nursing to something completely different and whatnot. So don't stress about that. Now, we talked a little bit about doing research and we talked about choosing a major, and I think it all really relates well to building your list. And I don't necessarily believe you need to have your list finalized right now. In fact, I mean, you might still be adding and subtracting some things into the fall, and that's perfectly okay. Where we typically recommend your list to be is anywhere from 3 to 10 schools. You can certainly have less if you'd like. You can certainly have more. It kind of depends on the schools you're applying to, what you're looking for. We know we have some student athletes in the class, so that might change some things as well. But ultimately, 3 to 10 is kind of that sweet spot. Common App only allows for 20 schools, so we really encourage you to kind of stick within that 20. Honestly, if you go over that, a lot of times it can just get really stressful. Additionally, college applications aren't cheap. Usually they run anywhere from $50 to $100. If you are eligible for free or reduced lunch, based on the government requirements, you can qualify for a fee waiver for ACT, SAT, and also for your app fee. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us and we can discuss that as well. When it comes to building your list, though, we're really big on the term balance. We want to make sure you have some balance on there. Ultimately, we want you to have one school on there that we know you're going to get into, that you as a family know this is going to work. We're going to be able to do it financially, even if you don't get any scholarships, or maybe we know how much scholarship money you'll receive because the school has it on their grid online. Ultimately, we want one of those schools where you're comfortable going to if nothing else works. We don't want to see too many reach schools on a list, for a number of reasons. Ultimately, though, we don't want it to be discouraging for you. So have some balance, have those safety schools that you know for sure you're going to get into, have some of those schools that could go either way, and certainly have some of those reaches that are a long shot. But we don't want to see too many long shots on there. The really great thing, like I mentioned with Maya Learning, is it does track a lot of the data over the last five or so years as far as what's happened at different schools. So you can kind of see that scattergram and look at test scores, GPAs, and see, okay, this student with a similar GPA got admitted in 2022. This student was denied. So it can be a really great tool. We also do recommend having at least one in-state safety school. So typically for us, we recommend that being an in-state public school that you know you're going to get into. We both worked in admissions when the pandemic hit, and I saw so many students having to kind of pivot last minute to find a different school. So highly recommend having that one in-state school so last minute you can pivot rather than panic. When it comes to student athletes or anyone who might be interested in an arts program that requires auditions, portfolios, things like that, I also like to recommend having two pathways. So having your admissions pathway, but then also having your whether it be sports or whether it be your art pathway as well. So that way you can kind of pivot if need be. So college is getting more and more competitive, and I don't want to scare you with that. But we have seen trends shift a little bit over the past, I guess, 5 years. I remember when I first started, you looked at schools like Georgia. I could pretty much tell you if you're in the top 10%, you're probably going to get into Georgia. That's not necessarily the case anymore. They've gotten a lot more selective. Auburn and Tennessee, I could probably tell you if you had a 90 GPA, you're going to get in. Auburn and Tennessee are two other schools that have just gotten more and more competitive. So that competitiveness can change a little bit, especially if you're a parent and you had an older child that went to a school and maybe your younger child has better credentials and you're thinking, oh, it'll be a slam dunk. Please know things do change. We highly recommend looking at those admitted student profiles on Maya Learning, checking out the acceptance rates of schools just to kind of see where they are. We're more than happy to have those conversations and those difficult conversations with a student. We kind of have a pretty good idea at most schools where you're sitting GPA wise, if it's going to be a reach, a safety school, anything like that. So we're more than happy to have those conversations, but just we understand we're a little more in the weeds in this profession and with what schools look like and what has happened at BL in the past. So we're happy to be that resource and kind of advise you on what we think could happen. And then when it comes to applying, don't worry about applying right now. Applications, most of them open up on August 1st. So the Common App is always open. So you can technically fill out your information right now, even though we don't recommend doing that. And then it will kind of switch over to your class on August 1st. So most schools' applications will open August 1st. Some might open July 1st through the school's website, but pretty much any school is not going to open until the summer, so don't worry about that right now. Most common ways to apply Common App, that's probably where 80% of you or more are going to apply to schools. Common App's really great because it allows you to fill out your general information. So your name, your email, your phone number, your address, your activities, all that kind of stuff. They're only going to make you do that one time. Then you will fill out school specific questions, and a lot of them are a little bit shorter on the school specific side. So I promise you, it definitely saves a little bit of time. If you're applying to all schools in Texas, Apply Texas could be a potential great option. More and more schools are moving to Common App, but some schools are still on only Apply Texas. Additionally, some schools may have you apply directly on their website. That may be the only route, or it might be a suggested route from us. So an example of this is Arkansas is a school that we have a really good relationship with the rep there, and we're able to send the transcripts in directly to her in July. So we'll usually have you apply earlier to Arkansas and suggest applying directly on their website. But in general, we're usually not able to send transcripts until late August, early September, just because your classes in progress are listed on your transcript. And we don't want you initially signing up for AP Gov and then you decide to drop AP Gov and a school sees, oh, they're taking AP Gov as a senior grade. And then all of a sudden they get your mid-year transcripts in January and realize, oh, where's AP Gov? I thought they were going to take it. So that's a reason we don't really send it until later on in the process. Different types of admissions. There's really four big ones. There's rolling admission. So you see this at a lot of public state universities that aren't quite as selective will tend to have rolling admission, meaning they'll start rolling their applications out in waves. These are the ones where students will get decisions in August, September. So rolling admission is one way. Early action is typically going to be somewhere between October and December as a deadline. This is a hard deadline. So if you miss early action, oftentimes you'll then have to wait for regular decision. They don't give you an extension on it. Early action just means it's a normal way to apply. 75% of our students apply, I would say, rolling admission or early action to a school. The next one is regular decision. Regular decision just has a little bit later deadline. So usually students will apply, I think January 1st is kind of a normal date for that. We don't see a ton of students applying regular decision, but it definitely happens. And we'll talk more about this over the summer and into the early fall as well as we have more meetings. And then lastly is early decision. Early decision, this is not available at every school. It's typically going to be the more selective private schools offer it. And this is if you know 110% you want to go to that university. Early decision enhances your chances to get in. However, please note it's binding. So you need to be 110% sure you're going there even with no scholarship. So that could be a potential option. And we're happy to have those conversations with you as well.
So, for those that are wondering how we can, increase our chances and be the most competitive applicant we can be, what is the recipe for success? Your transcript is going to be the most important aspect of your college application. And that is what all schools, no matter what their process is, they're going to look at your transcript, whether they are just looking at your GPA, whether they're looking at your overall grades, they might dive more into rigor. But our formula basically is that good grades and good rigor, so taking challenging classes, the most challenging ones that you can take, that is going to give you the best results you can. This next bullet point, if you have siblings or, for parents, if you had kids that have gone through the college admissions process kind of post-COVID, this wasn't, as big of a deal as it has been now this year. And that is high test scores. And we'll get into testing a little bit later. But even if a school is test optional, sending in a good test score is going to help you. And this year, what I've been telling all of my students in meetings, and Mr. Inget and I have talked about it, and with Mr. Sharp and guidance and everything, is that we really want you all to put an emphasis on test scores this year. A lot of students, when UT Austin became test required this past year, a lot of our students were not prepared for it and took tests and felt rushed taking their tests and everything. And so we want you to be able to test early and multiple times if you are able to. We don't want you guys waiting until the fall of senior year to be taking the ACT or SAT. We really want you to get started on it and just have that emphasis on it early. Not putting pressure on a certain score, just being aware that we want testing to be a part of your application. Having involvement that matters to you. And notice I didn't give like a specific thing to be involved in. Just having involvement that matters to you, that you're passionate about, that you're able to talk about, that is what is going to be important in your application. And it does not matter what that involvement is. It matters more how you're able to talk about it and what it's meant to you over the last couple of years. And then demonstrated interest. And this is why we're so annoying about talking to the reps and going up to them when they come visit us at school and talking to them at the college fair and everything, is because demonstrated interest can help. Not every school uses demonstrated interest in the admissions process, but it never hurts to have a good relationship with their rep. And then also when it comes to demonstrated interest with your future major, if you are interested in a particular field, getting yourself involved with that field early, whether it's through a shadowing opportunity, early college, like summer camps that they offer, doing internships, or maybe being able to tie your future major in with a part-time job or volunteer work that you're doing, that really matters to them. So again, it doesn't matter what that activity is. It matters that you're able to talk about it and that you're going to be able to put it on your application in a meaningful way. So this slide is very important as this is our first meeting with your class. One question that we get asked constantly is, what's my rank? And we want everybody to know, BL, for all intents and purposes, we are a non-ranking school. So we will never disclose rank to students. So if you email us and say, what's my rank? This college application is asking, you are always able to put that we are a non-ranking school. We are not going to send your rank to any colleges. When you apply to colleges on the Common App, you will indicate that we are a non-ranking school. So everywhere, it's pretty common to be a non-ranking school. So everywhere will give you the option to indicate that we are a non-ranking school. However, and that being said, we do keep an internal rank that we only use for UT Austin and Texas A&M admissions purposes. So we will have an internal rank so that we can have our automatic admission for those students that qualify. And this year, if you were unaware, for this upcoming year, so UT Austin announced this fall that for your class of 2026 and moving forward, that the automatic admission threshold for UT Austin is going to be the top 5% of the graduating class. Texas A&M has stayed top 10% for all that we know, so they are continuing to be top 10%, but UT Austin has moved from top 6% to top 5%. So the top 5% and the top 10% are going to be finalized at the end of junior year. So this means that summer classes do not account into the GPA for UT Austin and A&M admissions or ranking purposes. We are going to reach out. We always reach out to students that are in the top 5% and the top 10%, and we notify them that they will qualify for automatic admission. But again, we don't give your rank. We just let you know whether you are in the top 5% or in the top 10%, if that makes sense. If you have questions, you can always let us know, or you can send them in the chat. But this is kind of our ranking policy. It's very cut and dry, but we get questions about it all the time. Now, the next question that we get all the time is, what's my GPA? So BL uses a 100-point scale for GPA. And while there is a 4.0 scale or 4.0 GPA listed on your transcript, it is not always accurate if a school recalculates GPA. So if your transcript, for example, says that you have a 3.9 GPA and you're looking at you're looking at Boston College, and Boston College accepts students with a 3.9 GPA, the BL 3.9 GPA is most likely it's not going to be the same as the GPA that Boston College is using. And I know that this gets really confusing, so that's why we always tell you guys, please do not rely on that number that is on your GPA, or on your transcript, the 4.0 GPA. Please do not rely on that number for admissions. Use the 100-point scale. Use that. On Maya Learning, we always recommend using Maya because it is going to use the BL 100-point scale for statistics, and that is the source of truth. That's what I always say. The 100-point scale is the source of truth. So we really recommend using Maya Learning and looking at the scatter plots that are in there to see past admission statistics, because it's going to be the 100-point scale, as opposed to looking on admissions blogs or on admissions websites and seeing a 4.0 scale, range for a school, because, your GPA is going to be it's just always going to be a little bit different. So we always recommend using Maya. Again, if you have questions about your GPA, how it converts or anything, please feel free to email myself or Mr. Ringet, and we can help clear things up.
So now one question we get a lot is, okay, so if the last grades that a school is seeing are my junior year grades, does senior year matter? And I promise you it does. As somebody who has worked in admissions before, who has done this job for a while, I have seen firsthand that senior year matters. It matters what you're taking. In fact, a lot of schools really want to see that senior year you haven't taken your foot off the gas when it comes to rigor. They want to see that you're still taking those AP classes, those honors classes. Um, grades, grades matter too. I mean, there are instances where somebody might be deferred, and the college then wants to see their mid-year grades. There might be an instance that a school says, "Hey, you're applying early action, but we do want to see your first quarter grades." You could then give them your report cards. So it certainly does matter, and it can certainly help. I have had students that I figured were going to get deferred because simply the college just wanted to see what their mid-year grades looked like and wanted to make sure that they were capable of doing the work, especially if there's a jump in rigor as well. When it comes to selecting your classes for senior year, listen to the recommendations from your teachers, listen to your recommendations from your counselors, listen to us. I promise you, we're not trying to make your life miserable. We're not trying to set you up for failure. We're trying to set you up for success. So the math teachers probably know better which math class you should be in based on the work you've done, the grades you've earned, things like that. So please trust us. We're not here to harm you in this process. We want to make sure that, one, you're going to be as competitive for colleges as you can, but two, you're going to be as successful as you can in the classroom, because both matter. Okay, APs versus dual credit. So we are a really unique school when it comes to AP credit and dual credit. So most of you are going to be at some point enrolled at Dallas College or Eastfield. If you are taking any class that's listed as advanced. So there may be classes that have both AP and advanced with them, but if it has advanced, it means you will be receiving dual credit through Eastfield. If it just says AP, there is no dual credit component to it. Now, honestly, most schools out there will accept dual credit, but not all. And we don't have a big list of all the schools that don't accept it because there's just so many schools out there. But we've learned that a lot of the more selective private schools may not take them, but if you're looking at all public schools, probably most of your dual credit hours will transfer over. I mentioned some classes are labeled as AP and advanced. These can be the tricky ones, and I know our counselors have had conversations with you all. We've had conversations with you all as far as, should I take the AP exam? Our answer, especially for juniors, is usually yes. And the reason we say that is we'd hate to see a position where all of a sudden, oh shoot, I didn't take the AP exam and that's how I was going to get credit for the class. So typically we recommend that, but it is completely up to you. You will usually need to earn a 3, 4, or 5 to receive credit, but that varies by school and it varies by subject. You can also report your AP scores for college admission, and good scores on your AP exams can earn you awards like AP Scholar with honors, and so on and so forth. Classes that are only listed as AP will not receive dual credit, and you must take the AP exam to receive any credit. So I hope that clears up some things. I know it can be kind of tricky. I remember when I first started at BL, it took me a little while to wrap my head around all that, but 5 years later, I'm definitely there now. As far as the dual credit, the nice part about it is a lot of our classes, especially if you're looking to stay in state, will transfer, and it can, depending on the amount of credits you have, it can put you in college as a sophomore. For some students, it could even be a junior. So it's really a great thing that we have. When it comes to testing, so Miss M talked a little bit about testing. So there's really 3 tests that you will take moving forward. So junior year's PSAT score that you just took is used for national merit consideration. So this is finally the one that I don't want to say matters, because freshman, sophomore years matters for dual credit placement, but junior year could potentially earn you national merit, which has scholarship implications. But PSAT is not used for college admissions. The nice thing for you all is you never have to worry about taking another PSAT, because in October you took your last one. But ACT and SAT, we do really, really recommend that students take it at least once. My recommendation is usually taking it at least once or twice in your junior year, and then if you need to test again, early in your senior year. We want the senior year to be one that, okay, I would like to get a higher score for scholarship or admissions purposes, but ultimately I have some scores, so if a school requires it, I can still have a complete application. There are some schools that may be test optional, but may require the test score for scholarship consideration. So the University of Oklahoma is a really good example of this. OU has some test optional scholarships, but if you have a good test score, it can really get you a nice award. Alabama's another one where they're known, if you have a ACT score in the 30s, you could potentially be getting like $28,000 a year through them. So test score really matters. If you test in the spring, you should have had Algebra 2, so you should be good as far as having the necessary math. Most schools don't have a preference on whether you take ACT or SAT. It's definitely completely up to you and your preference. But yeah, ACT, SAT, start taking those in the fall. We want to make sure by the time you hit summer, you at least have 1 or 2 tests already taken. As far as registering for the test, the best thing you can do, simply Google register for ACT, register for SAT. You'll find the link there, and you'll be able to register through their website. So for ACT, it's act.org, and for SAT, it is run through the College Board. BL is a host site for 2 ACTs and 2 SATs this spring, but you do not have to test at BL. I will say you can test as many times as you want, but kind of 2 to 3 is that magic number that we recommend, and you can certainly take both scores. Most of the time, schools are going to either take your super score, which is the combination of all of your highest subscores in the ACT or SAT, or they're just going to take your highest composite. So it just kind of varies from school to school, and that's why it's really important to talk to your college reps. And then as far as test prep goes, there is a test prep section on the college advising newsletter that was sent out in November. There will also be a test prep section located in our Veracross portal. So there's lots of different options out there. It's kind of like colleges, finding the one that is the right fit for you. We do have a really good relationship with Helen Witt. who does test prep right here on our campus from time to time. Revolution Prep is another great resource that we work pretty closely with as well. But we highly recommend, looking into doing test prep just because tests are becoming more and more prevalent again.
Okay, so finishing up with a fun spring timeline just to kind of talk through some of the items that you can have on your radar going into the next couple of months until the end of the school year, which is crazy. So in January, our individual junior meetings are going to continue. So Mr. Inget and I have been working through our caseloads, our respective caseloads, kind of taking a little bit of a break as you guys get prepared for finals. We don't want to, take you out of class or anything. But these will resume in the spring. And we will send a pass for you to come in for a meeting. If you want to schedule a time, you're more than welcome to, but we'll look through and we look through to make sure that we're not pulling you out of any really intense classes or anything. In January, we really encourage you to attend the BL College Fair. That will be on Wednesday, January 29th. More information will be sent out about that fair, but we highly, highly encourage you to attend. If you have younger siblings, bring them, but please come to the fair. Then again, we want you to research colleges that match your preferences and maybe register for the ACT or SAT to be taken later that spring. But if you register early, then you don't have to worry about doing it right before the test. February, course selections are going to begin. So your guidance counselors will meet with you. If you do have questions about courses, we are more than happy to answer those as you guys are prepping for, what you want to take next year. Our letter of recommendation request information is also going to be sent out. So there will be a long email about that in February, but basically, we will send out the process of how to request letters of recommendation from your teachers. We want you to ask 2 teachers, so more information will be sent out in a couple months about that. But we will want you to begin working on your letter of rec brag sheet as well as your resume, and then continue that college research and finalizing, maybe what your list is going to look like toward the end of the year. Then in March, again, continuing researching colleges, adding them to your considering list on Maya, requesting your letters of recommendation. You can look into summer pre-college opportunities, maybe some jobs, internships, volunteer work. Since you're going to have this resume as well, it's a great time if you're going to apply for any opportunities to be looking into those. And then you can also visit colleges over spring break. In April 4th is going to be our teacher letter of recommendation request deadline. So you must ask your teachers by April 4th. That is our deadline for them to be guaranteed that they are requested. You need to ask by then also because then if any teachers are retiring or leaving Bishop Lynch, they can send in your letters early should they choose to do so. Again, visiting colleges, researching colleges, those are things to have on your radar in April. And lastly, to finish up, May, final exams and AP exams. We have junior ring ceremony, which is exciting, but then finalizing your college list. We want you to have your list about 90% finalized by the end of the school year. 90% might be a little high, but I always say your list can be in pencil. It doesn't have to be in pen. We can add, we can erase, but we want you to have a really good idea of the schools that you're going to apply to by the end of the year so that over the summer, you are just preparing to, figure out what applications are due when, what do you need for them. The summertime is just planning time. And then in the fall, once those open, you can just knock them out. Over the summer, you guys are all going to attend a virtual College 101 presentation. If you followed the Instagram, I'm sure you've seen I was annoying about them last summer. I will continue to be annoying about them this summer. We offer like 10 or 11 different sessions every summer, and you just need to attend one. You can begin completing the common application over the summer, working on your essays and supplements, and visiting schools. Those are great things to do during the summertime, but I'm sure we will talk again before then. our final slide is just if you need to contact us. Again, my name is Miss Marchesini, and I work with the beginning half of the alphabet, last names A through L. We're in your email inboxes all the time, but there's my email if you need it. Mr. Ringet, he is last names N through Z. Again, we're in your inboxes all the time, so you should have our emails. But another way to get involved with us is just to follow BL College Advising on Instagram. That is our Instagram account where we post about the programming that we're doing. Maybe some of you that follow, you were reminded about this through the posts on the story today. But we just want to thank you guys for coming on tonight and spending time with us. If you have questions or anything, you can pop them in the chat or send us an email. But we really thank you for being here. Do you have any last words, Tony? Anything before we log off?
No, just we can't wait to work with you all over these next, really 18 months. Like I said before, we know it's stressful, but we're here to help as much as we can. And if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email. But have a great evening, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.